All right, so my name's Randall Lowe, and this is the 944 Tesla swap that I and my dad have been working on for about the past 6 months, 7 months. Just going to do a quick overview of what's going on here. Ask me questions in the comments if you have any. I'm sure some people will. So, where to start? Okay. So we ripped out the motor, the gas tank, the transaxle, the torque tube, and the spare tire holder and the trunk floor. I think that covers everything. Oh, and the tunnel. All that stuff came out of the car. You can see in the back there's some differences going on, but I'll start at the front. So we replaced the motor in the front with, and we ripped out the original steering and HVAC. Yeah, a lot came out of the car. So, start at the bottom. We replaced the Porsche power steering rack with a Mustang 2 manual rack, and I went to a Toyota Prius power assisted steering unit up under the dash behind the firewall. See if I can get a picture of it. So that's it right there. Got a nice Momo wheel that's probably all covered in dust now, and NRG quick release. So this was originally a tilt column. Just to talk about it for a second, this thing right here, I've just welded on a box, took the tilt column, turned it upside down, locked it, bolted that on to 2 nutserts that I put into the box, and that holds the steering column in place up top. Then under here you can see some supports that I welded on to the back of the motor, or welded on to the firewall and bolted onto the back of the motor in some provisions that were already there. So moving back to the front, we have 3 battery boxes here. This top one is not done yet. I still have a cover that needs to go on the back. So in the bottom we have 1 Tesla battery. The total battery capacity is 85 kilowatt hours, 400 volts. It's a standard P85 Model S, 2013, I think. So battery 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm using these things I found from a guy online, recommended them to me. They're pretty nice. They're rated for, I don't know, 600,000 volts. I forget what it is. Nice terminal pass-throughs. And I actually, on the battery box, or the battery inside, I made my own aluminum 90-degree brackets that I pressed in an 8mm stud on the front side and then bolted it in with the original Tesla battery bolts, or terminal bolts. And then these things just thread right onto that stud that I put in the bracket. So that's pretty cool. Inadvertently, it worked out really well. Making the battery boxes, I did that out of 2020 extruded aluminum 3D printer stuff. I'm looking to see if I have any of it around here so that anyone who's never worked with 3D printers knows what I'm talking about. Really? None? I'll find some in a minute. And through the magic of editing, haha! So, here you go. This is the stuff. 2020 aluminum. It's lightweight. This whole bar weighs, I don't know, a pound, maybe a little more. It's 600 millimeters long. It's actually the perfect length. It goes about here alongside the battery, up under the mount rail inside, and then on the front I've got 2060 aluminum extrusion. Hold on. Like you see here. And so I'm just using some angle brackets or welding, depending on how I felt that day and my confidence in my welding skills, which are not great, to put this all together. So you can see some of it kind of poking through here. My plan for this, by the way, none of this is waterproof right now. I'm going to wrap all of it in that Flex Seal tape and just live with it that way. And if I ever need to go dive back into a battery box, I cut it off, peel the tape off, or burn the tape off, or whatever it needs, and redo it. Yeah, so 7 7, 8, 10, 16. Yeah, 7 batteries up front. I'm using this as my coolant stuff, my coolant lines for the batteries only. So this is half OD 12 millimeter. Technically, it's not half. Pneumatic line. It's fairly flexible, not super flexible. It's also kind of cool here, so it's a little more rigid than it would otherwise be. But the quick disconnects or quick connects to these fittings, which are also for pneumatics, but they'll hold up to this stuff, supposedly, according to their data sheets, really well. So I'm using these little like $8 aluminum multi-port manifolds that I got off of Amazon. The whole cooling system probably cost me about $300 in parts off Amazon, and that left me with, whoop, wrong drawer, a lot of leftover stuff. I mean, a lot of leftover stuff. I could probably do half of another car again. So, jury's still out on if that's going to work well or not. I hope it does. I really hope it does. It was a lot of work. It wasn't that much work, but it was enough work, right? So I've got these bulkhead connectors that go into the battery box, and everything's color coded so that I don't forget, which is going to be handy because I forget a lot of things. What else up front? Okay, so another thing I forgot to mention I removed was the headlight control bar and motor for the 944. I'm switching it out for these guys. These are just linear actuators. They're slower than the original motor, but they're independent, and they're like 1.5 or 2 amps instead of the 8 or 10 that the original headlight motor was. And this being an electric car, savings will be important wherever I can get them. And it being Texas means I'm going to be running the AC or the heat every moment I'm in the car anyway. Let's see, what else? So this thing right up here is not an advertisement for Lowe's, but it is my prototype battery box that I made back in January when it was cold and I didn't have anything to do. And I just kind of like used it to trial fit everything, and you can see it's kind of close to the right length. In fact, it's actually a lot closer than I thought it would be, considering I cut it out of a moving box. So this is the brain blank, the blower motor, which is full of aluminum at the moment, to blow air across the condenser, not condenser, the evaporator, and heat coil inside the air conditioning box under the dash, which you can see right there as I control the phone with my left hand. I'm going to be replacing parts of that, maybe most of it, we'll see, with a custom built box, and I'll be putting in, poof, a Tesla PTC heater that will go in the system somehow. I haven't figured that out yet. That's a problem for another day. But this is high voltage, 400 volt, blah, blah, blah. You can see some rats ate through that with the previous owner. And let's see, I guess that kind of covers it for the front. I ripped out the original electrical system for anybody who's a 944 fanatic, because that's really all there is. There's either people who don't care for them or there's fanatics. This is the plate to cover over this that I have to cut some holes in to let air flow. So this is where the fuse box normally goes. Fuse panel normally goes. Anyway, there's a nice big panel that sits in here. It screws into these 2 holes. I did away with that because I hate Porsche wiring. I think it's bass-ackwards. And I'm putting in a universal hot rod wiring kit. I don't know, 16, 20, whatever it is, circuit. It's plenty for what I need it to do. And anything else that I have to expand, I'm going to do so manually, just with additional fuse panels by Blue Sea, or Blue Sea Systems or something like that. They're marine stuff. They're generally pretty good. I like the quality and they hold up well. And I think that does it for the front. The hood is off the car. It's over there behind that big sheet of aluminum and mess. Oh, radiator. stock radiator is not going to work. I'm going to have to come up with a different solution, and that radiator will only be for the battery coolant loop, not the motor. We'll get into the motor in a minute. Okay, moving inside the car. Charging port, hooray. So inside the car, coat covering a battery pack, or battery module, sorry. I still screw that up. One will live right there on the floorboard. So the tunnel, we were originally going to put a Ford EcoBoost 2.3 liter in this out of the Focus RS and the 2015 and up Mustangs. And then I rode in a Tesla Model S one day and said, wow, that's a big difference. I'm going to do that instead. So I've got a brand new, never run motor, 2.3 liter EcoBoost. If anybody wants to buy it, I'll make you a deal. Just DM me. So yeah, tunnel. We took all that drivetrain out originally to put in the EcoBoost. In so doing, we cut out the tunnel because we needed to expand the tunnel to accommodate a larger transmission up in the front of the car, making it a fully front-weighted vehicle. That was a trick. So when we decided we needed to find somewhere to put 16 batteries, and doing the math, only 6 or 7 were going to fit up front. The 7th one was kind of a trick, being down at the bottom across the battery pack behind the radiator. We decided 1 will fit in here and 2 will go under the tunnel. We were originally going to do 4 under the tunnel, but I was being OCD and didn't like that idea for no other reason than I just didn't like it. So we had to put the tunnel back. And putting the tunnel back meant literally going over to the scrap pile, pulling the original tunnel out, cutting it down the middle, then cutting off the top after we thought about it some more, welding it back on in place, and then welding on some extra metal we did get from Lowe's late one Sunday evening, and we threw it in our 23-inch wide brake and did 3 segments. Got an inadvertent little taper on it, which actually ended up looking pretty nice, I think, and welded it back together. So under that is 2 batteries in another battery box made out of 2020 extruded aluminum with clad in aluminum siding. Seats will go here and over there. The original dash will fit over the steering column. I lined it up so that it would. It goes right back through the original steering hole. I'm going to try and drive the original dash with an Arduino and some PWM controllers. We'll see. That's the hope. James over at Flash Drive, who did the electric Brat, apparently is pretty knowledgeable about that. And so I'm going to lean on him for some of that knowledge. Moving to the back of the car. So we had to take off the back glass, which actually was a lot easier than I thought it would be, especially without a trunk, because I could just stand in the hole and do the work. So this is the back battery. This is Tesla BMS that I'm in the middle of working on. There's 6 batteries here. They are arranged flat, 1, 2, 3, then there's another 3 underneath that. The battery terminals are up here at the front, under the carpet. This was all custom done by me, not knowing anything about what I was doing in structural integrity. I probably overbuilt this box by 2 or 3-fold, but I'm thinking there's 350 pounds in batteries, give or take, inside this thing, and it's going a span of about 30 inches. So I was just being extra careful. I put that front crossbar up there. It's 2 inches, 120 wall. It goes down in there and connects to the torsion bar tube that I welded some bracketry onto. And as you can tell, welding is not my trade, which is why all these boxes aren't welded together. Let's see. Oh, so coolant. This was a pain in the butt. I 3D printed, come on, focus. I 3D printed this manifold so that those coolant lines I was talking about earlier could run out of the battery box and I didn't have to make a bunch of individual bulkhead connections, blah, 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 blah. It was a lot of work. Now, the fun part. So there's the motor. Originally we had this mounted differently. We had to cut all of our mounts loose and redo it because we did not realize that there was a oil sump that has an oil pump pickup at the front of the motor. Yeah, you can't really see it. Yeah, there it is. That sump right in the middle of the image has an oil pump pickup at the bottom of it. And the way we had it originally, that front sump was flat with the bottom of the cans at the back of the motor. So it wasn't going to work. The pump would run dry, the bearings would overheat, and engine failure would commence. So we redid that actually this last weekend. And I guess that's really all there is to that. I think that pretty well covers it. Oh, I mentioned earlier that the coolant loop was going to be just the batteries. I'm going to mount another radiator right up in this space, kind of at an angle attached to this crossbar, to cool the motor and the charger. And I'm trying to figure out where the charger is going to live. If I can get it up under here, I will. I don't know that that will necessarily work. We'll see. It would be nice to get it up under here, or up under there. This is pretty self-explanatory, right? Ta-da! Works just like it used to. I think that covers the bulk of it. It doesn't feel like I just explained 6 months of work, but I guess that's how it goes. Immediate goals are figure out my charger, the charging system, like, meaning that was worded poorly, meaning how am I going to wire all of this stuff together so that the charger's in the right place and the BMS goes and connects to the right place. Just a bunch of stuff. There's still a lot to do. The heavy fabrication work is done at this point. Like I said, I've got a little bit to do down here because this battery box moves still. I've got to bolt that through that, but there's a battery right on the other side of this. There's not a lot of play there. These batteries, by the way, are mounted vertically. They're laid up on their side. I sure hope that doesn't create problems with like cooling or something like that. It probably will, and it will probably screw me up, but we'll see. I guess that's probably it. Oh yeah, iBooster, Tesla iBooster brake master cylinder will go there for electrically powered power brakes. I guess that's it. All right, I'll stop stalling. 20 minutes long of an explanation. Yeah, I guess that's it. Cool. If you have questions, like I said, put them in the comments or DM me directly. Comments, though, will help everyone benefit. And yeah, like it if you like the build. All right. Good luck.